The Expired Podcast by Macy Bookout and Natalie Gard. Welcome back to the Expired Podcast. Hey, it's Natalie. Thank you so much for all of the love we got on our first episode of the Expired Podcast. I'm missing my co-host, Macy. She and all of her kids, her whole family has the flu, so I'm going to be doing this one solo. I'm really excited. Thank you for liking, following, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you click that subscribe button. We are working on getting on Apple Podcast and Spotify, so that is coming very, very soon. I did read all the comments on YouTube, and thank you so much for your constructive criticism. If I wasn't who I am, it would really hurt my feelings, so let's keep the comments kind. So I wanted to give an update on Angel Bumpus because she's home. She is home with her baby girls. And I was actually able to see her and speak to some of her family members. Of course, Expired is a Chattanooga-based podcast. So what that means is we look at crimes in and around Chattanooga, Tennessee. And this crime, which you can go back and watch the full video, it's a crazy story. And we've been following it since that pretty much it happened and she was accused. So is this annoying? Should we turn it off? You can still read what it says, right? So Angel is home and we're so excited to have just put some light on this case. So last week we were able to actually go to the courthouse. I was actually able to lay my eyes on the woman that I've been talking about for such a long time. And I got to meet some of her family members. Her aunt was there. She was wonderful when she testified. This was a new judge, so it was not her previous judge, which we had talked about in the other episode. So that was good. It was a new judge. Her name is Amanda Dunn. She seemed wonderful. So we're so excited to have her as a part of our judicial system here in Tennessee. So the bond was set at $100,000. But as we know, you only need 10% of that. And they were going to take her back to jail because the prosecutor for the state, his name was Mr. Dow, and he wasn't going to let her out because she had to prove that she had the money. And obviously she's been in prison, so she hasn't made any money. But her aunt, who works literally nonstop, works 2 jobs, several hours a week. She had the money. And the prosecutor wasn't going to let her actually pay for it because she was waiting on a check that was supposed to come the following day. And then they were going to be able to have the $10,000 they needed to get Angel out. Well, this is so crazy. So I'm sitting in the courtroom, we're in a recess. I go out to the hall and I'm calling Macy like, oh my gosh, I saw Angel Bumpus. And I saw her brother. Her brother is actually in that video that you saw as well. And I don't know if they're going to let her out. I don't think the prosecution is going to let her out because of this money thing. So anyway, I hang up with Macy, go back inside, and I notice this man that wasn't in the courtroom before. He's in the courtroom now, and he was, at the last minute, he comes in here. He's a businessman. He owns, I want to say, KA Logistics. I think his name is Kenneth Adams. He comes in at the last minute. He's a Chattanoogan. He owns his logistics company. He's in real estate. And he gets on the stand. I was shocked. He gets on the stand because he is willing to write a check right now for $10,000. So, Kenneth, wow. That is crazy. Just this businessman comes out of nowhere and puts up $10,000 for you. So he gets on the stand to show the prosecutor that, yes, I have the 10 grand right now. And to show the judge. And when the judge asked, why are you doing this? He said, I have followed this case since it happened, and I believe she is innocent. And he wrote a check for 10 grand, gave it to the bondsman. She was able to go home that night and be with her family. And just a few short days later, she was reunited with her 2 young daughters. Here's a pic. Utah Wells. She is currently a missing 5-year-old, now 6-year-old, out of Rogersville, Tennessee. She was 5 as of the day she went missing, June 15th, 2021. She has blonde hair, blue eyes, weighs 40 pounds, and is about 3 feet tall. This is the case we're going to be talking about because she disappeared from her home in Hawkins County on July 15th. Now, Hawkins County is in Tennessee. It's at the very tippy top up near Kentucky. This is the house that they live in. So Angel is home, and we're so excited to have just put some light on this case. So last week, we were able to actually go to the courthouse. I was actually able to lay my eyes on the woman that I've been talking about for such a long time. And I got to meet some of her family members. Her aunt was there. She was wonderful when she testified. This was a new judge, so it was not her previous judge, which we had talked about in the other episode. So that was good. It was a new judge. Her name is Amanda Dunn. She seemed wonderful. So we're so excited to have her as a part of our judicial system here in Tennessee. So the bond was set at $100,000. But as we know, you only need 10% of that. And they were going to take her back to jail because the prosecutor for the state, his name was Mr. Dow, and he wasn't going to let her out because she had to prove that she had the money. And obviously she's been in prison, so she hasn't made any money. But her aunt, who works literally nonstop, works 2 jobs, multiple, several hours a week. She had the money, and the prosecutor wasn't going to let her actually pay for it because she was waiting on a check that was supposed to come the following day, and then they were going to be able to have the $10,000 they needed to get Angel out. Well, this is so crazy. So I'm sitting in the courtroom, we're in a recess. I go out to the hall and I'm calling Macy like, oh my gosh, I saw Angel Bumpus, and I saw her brother. Her brother is actually in that video that you saw as well, and I don't know if they're going to let her out. I don't think the prosecution is going to let her out because of this money thing. So anyway, I hang up with Macy, go back inside, and I notice this man that wasn't in the courtroom before. He's in the courtroom now, and he was, at the last minute, he comes in here. He's a businessman. He owns, I want to say, KA Logistics. I think his name is Kenneth Adams. He comes in at the last minute. He's a Chattanoogan. He owns his logistics company. He's in real estate. And he gets on the stand. I was shocked. He gets on the stand because he is willing to write a check right now for $10,000. So, Kenneth, wow, that is crazy. Just this businessman comes out of nowhere and puts up $10,000 for you. So he gets on the stand to show the prosecutor that, yes, I have the 10 grand right now, and to show the judge. And when the judge asked, why are you doing this? He said, I have followed this case since it happened, and I believe she is innocent. And he wrote a check for 10 grand, gave it to the bondsman. She was able to go home that night and be with her family. And just a few short days later, she was reunited with her 2 young daughters. Here's a pic. Talking about because she disappeared from her home in Hawkins County on July 15th. Now, Hawkins County is in Tennessee. It's at the very tippy top up near Kentucky. This is the house that they live in. It's very secluded. You can't even see the house from the road that they live on, which is Ben Hill Road. And these are the people who live there. Dad, Don, Mom, Candace, 3 older brothers, and Summer is the youngest child. So Summer went missing on June 15th, 2021. Now, let's get a little picture of this family. We saw that they live in a very secluded area where you can't even see the house from the road. We know that on the property is Don, Candace, 3 boys who will not be named in this video, and Summer. Now, they live in the main house. There's a camper very close to the house, and that is where Grandma Candy lives. They all live there with their between 8 and 13 dogs. This is supposed to be kind of a place that people dump their dogs. So there are all these dogs everywhere. So there is 2 different accounts to this day. And you may have heard of this case on Dr. Phil, the interview room. All over the world, people are looking for this little girl. And if you know anything, 1-800-TBI-FIND. 1-800-TBI-FIND. So let's go through the accounts of the day. It was a normal day. Don was heading to work. He went to work between 7 and 8. They think it's a little bit closer to 7 because his job was like 45 minutes away. And Grandma Candy needed to go to the hospital in Kingsport. Her appointment was at 8:30. So what Candace did, she's a stay-at-home mom. She left her 3 young boys at home for the day. And she, her mom, Grandma Candy, and Summer pack up in the truck and they head to Kingsport for Grandma Candy's doctor's appointment. So this is all the day she went missing. There's a couple different accounts as to what happened, and we will talk about Hunter's version in a minute, but let's get to it. So they get to the doctor in Kingsport at 8:30, and it's going to be, an hour and a half for her doctor's appointment, Grandma Candy's doctor's appointment. So they take her, and while they're waiting, according to Candace, she gets a call from Hunter inviting them over to hang out. Now, Hunter is Candace's ex-best friend's 15-year-old son. Candace says, okay, ask your mom if it's okay that you come hang out with us or we go do something and we'll come do it. And so Hunter asked his mom, and that's a whole nother story because his mom didn't really agree with Candace's parenting choices, and that's why they were ex-best friends. But Candace kept in touch with her kids, Hunter, after they ended their friendship. So they get this call from Hunter, and they go and get him. His mom says it's fine. Go hang out. We'll go to the lake. Just let me know where you are. So Candace and Summer, they go from the hospital in Kingsport to Hunter's house, pick him up, and then they get a call from Grandma Candy to come back and get her at the hospital. But before they do, they stop at a couple of different places. They stop at a smoke shop, they stop at a convenience store, and they stop at Walgreens. They stopped at Walgreens to fill the prescription that Grandma Candy needed. So they picked her up, make some stops for random things, and they find out that it's going to be a little while for the prescription to be filled. So they're like, well, what do we do now? They decide to go to Warriors Path State Park. It's like a little park. It's got a lake. Summer can swim. She was actually in her bathing suit that day anyway. It's a hot summer day. We're killing time. Let's go over there. So they get their vapes. They get their twisted teas. And they head over to Warrior State Park. Now, they were only there for a short while before Walgreens was ready for them to come pick up. Now, Hunter's account is a little bit different here. He says that they did all that. They went to the smoke shop, went and got twisted teas, went to the Walgreens pharmacy line, said it was going to be a while, so they were going to go to Warrior State Park. But he says that Don, the husband, the dad, called Candace while they were waiting in line at Walgreens. And Candace says, yes, he did call, but he called about something else, like, should I work late? Are y'all going to be home? Should I just keep working? And Candace says that's the extent of the conversation. Hunter says that Dawn called about some strange person on the property. It wasn't uncommon for just like people to be walking through the woods and stumble on this property. So that was Hunter's account, which I thought was odd, right? Like, what, like, how do you get that from that? I don't know. Anyway, so they go to Warrior's Path. Hunter says that Candace gave him a Twisted Tea and a vape. And of course that's illegal because he's 15 years old. But Candace says, no, I did not give him a Twisted Tea or a vape pen. So that is another thing that is different between Candace's story and Hunter's story. So they go to Warrior State Park, and Hunter says that they weren't really paying attention to Summer. She went under for a few seconds and thought maybe she's playing, so he went over to check on her, and she was playing and she was fine. So they get the call from Walgreens. They go back to Walgreens. They pack up at Warrior State Park. They go to Walgreens and pick up the prescription. Then they make a couple of other stops before dropping Hunter off. They go to a Sonic for slushies. They go to a grocery store. Now, Hunter says they were in there for an hour. Candace says they were in there for 5 or 10 minutes. So that's another thing about Candace's story versus Hunter's story. So they go to a Sonic to get slushies. They go to the grocery store to get some essentials, milk, bread, stuff like that. And then they go and drop Hunter off. Now, by the time all of this has taken place, they've gone to the hospital, they've gone to pick up Hunter, they've gone to the smoke shop and a convenience store, they've gone back to the hospital, gone to Walgreens, gone to Warrior State Park, gone to more vape shops and more, smoke shops. Okay, now they're heading home. So, the story continues. What Candace's account of when they got home this afternoon was this. They got home. She called for the boys to come help with the groceries. The boys help carry the groceries in, and she starts a load of laundry. Now, later, Candace and Summer were asked by Grandma Candy to come and help replant some succulents. So, Summer loves to be outside and loves to help her grandma. So they went over and they did that. Remember, their house, they're very close to each other. They're like on the same property, like across the way, like across the driveway from each other. So they go over and they help Grandma Candy replant some of these succulents. And when they're done, Grandma Candy gives a piece of candy to Summer as a thank you. Grandmas give out candy, right? So then she asked if she can go inside and play with her brothers. They were done potting succulents and she wanted to go play with her brothers. So Candace says she walked across the driveway and into the house with Summer and told the boys, hey, watch Summer. I'll be back in a minute. I'm just helping Grandma Candy really quick. She goes out the door. She helps Grandma Candy with her knee brace. Remember, her knees have been bothering her. And she says she was there for 2 minutes. She goes back into the house, and Summer's not there. So she asks the boys, where's Summer? Where's Summer? And the boys go, oh, she went downstairs to the playroom to play by herself. So Candace walks down their it's like a weird, their house layout is odd, and getting downstairs is odd. You have to go down. It's weird. But anyway, she goes downstairs, goes in Summer's room, can't find her, goes outside because there was an exit door downstairs in Candace and Dawn's room. She goes out that door to see if maybe she went outside to swing, and she wasn't there. So they're freaking out. Where's Summer? They're yelling, all over the property for her, and they can't find her. So, and this was in a matter of minutes from the time Candace was helping Grandma Candy with her knee brace to the time they realize Summer's gone. This was like matter of minutes, according to Candace. So Candace calls Dawn, says, I cannot find Summer. I'm freaking out. All the boys are gone out to look for her. We're yelling her name. I can't find her. So he tells her to hang up and call 911. And she did. And he did too. He hung up, called 911. And they haven't released the calls from 911, but they do have the dispatch. So while they're waiting on the police, Candace says she couldn't wait and she wanted to go out and start looking herself. So she sent her boys to one side of the property and she checked on the other side. And the few neighbors, the sparse neighbors that they have, one of them made a really odd comment. She said that just before Summer went missing and she got a knock on the door from Candace saying, hey, can you help look for Summer? She had heard a scream, and she said it wasn't an animal scream, but it was weird. But she did say that several things had been missing from the property, and so she was on kind of high alert when all this happened because there was, stray dogs being dropped off at the property and just things being stolen and things like that. So I did find that interesting that she said she heard a scream just before she realized that Summer was missing. Now, the police say that has nothing to do with Summer going missing, but I'm not so sure. Mom and Dad say that Summer would not go into the woods alone because she was scared of the woods. She was scared of the animals and the bugs, and was told to, stay in the open property. Do not go into the wooded property. So they say she would never walk off on her own. When Dawn gets home, he sees the boys searching, and it's really odd because he says, I knew from that moment she had been abducted. And so Dawn actually, remember, he works 45 minutes away. He actually got to his home, the scene of the crime, before the cops did. Now, I know that this is like unaccompanied land where they don't really have like a set police station. It's all from the county. And so that could explain why he made it home before the police even showed up. So they're looking for Summer. They can't find her. They bring out canine dogs to try and track her scent. And they were able to track her scent down to Ben Hill Road, which is near their home, but you're not able to see their house from Ben Hill Road. So you would have to know that, if it's an abduction, you would have to know a little girl's home at that time or have been watching the place. So they track with canines from the bottom basement door down to Ben Hill Road. And it stops there. It stops the road. It's a pretty secluded area, like not even lines on the road, kind of secluded. So that's the last trace of her. There are some good tips out there when it comes to who the police are looking for. They're looking for a red Tacoma truck from 98 to 2000s. It has white buckets in the back. Now, they say this truck was seen in the area at the time of the crime. So they think if not the abductor, maybe they saw or heard something. So they're looking for that. 6 weeks after Summer disappeared, the boys were taken from their parents. There was some problems in their family when it comes to drugs and alcohol. And with all of the media speculation, because she went missing in like such a short period of time and in such a secluded place, they thought it wasn't safe for the boys to live in their family home anymore because of all the media and the recognition they were getting. So 6 weeks after she disappeared, She disappeared in June. So 6 months after, she is still missing, and the boys are taken to CPS, and they were taken care of for a while. Now, in October of 21, so a couple months after his daughter went missing, Don Wells gets a DUI. And this isn't the first time he has been in jail. He has a couple of prior charges. One was made just before Summer went missing by Candace for domestic abuse. Now, it was later dropped, but I think that's something to be noted. So just a couple months after his daughter goes missing, he goes to jail for DUI. Don Wells is actually in prison. And if you visit the Summer Wells Missing website, you can actually see open letters he's written from prison. Now, the boys did come back home. They were allowed back home after the dust kind of settled. And here we are. She's been missing since June 15th of 2021 from her home in Hawkins County, and there's no evidence. So Leslie Reinhardt is the spokesperson for TBI, and she says the police have given very little info because this is an ongoing case. And I get that. Both Dawn and Candace have other kids. I wanted to give a little bit of background on both of these people because they're key players in this. So Dawn has a daughter named Margie and a son named Don Wesley. This was before he and Candace met. Candace also has 2 children from a previous marriage. She was married at 19 in Wisconsin to a man named Andrew. And this is so funny. Candace and Andrew, a young couple living in Wisconsin, named their kids Candace and Andrew. So, yeah. They divorce, and she meets Dawn, and they start a relationship. They get married, and they have 4 kids of their own. But I did find that really interesting that both of these people have like 6 kids each. It's a lot of kids. And I wanted to note that Candace and Andrew Jr., the kids, they were removed from the home at a very young age because of abuse and things like that. So Candace Jr. has made statements saying that she doesn't know her birth parents. She's heard that she and her brother were taken away because of abuse and drugs. Now, Candace had a disorderly conduct charge in 2003, but Don is the bigger offender. He has felonies, parole violations, burglary, and I love this on the interview room with Chris McDowell. He got so much information on this case and actually talked to the people and got to video like their house, and I'll link that interview. But they were also on Dr. Phil, and they had a behavior panel talk to them about the situation. They're pretty much human lie detectors. So what they did was they asked Dawn and Candace separately about Summer. And it was really, really interesting. It seemed like they were hiding something, but it also almost seemed like they hadn't not a clue. Now, whether that's due to a real abduction or just not parenting the way most of us would, I guess, parent, not, that it's just weird. And a 5-year-old doesn't disappear, It just doesn't happen like that. So I just wanted to give a little bit of information on their families. Now, in my sleuthing, I found that this is not the first person in Candace's life to go missing. Of course, her daughter, Summer Wells, which is who we're talking about, but Candace's own cousin has been missing, and her name is Rose Marie. She was last seen on August 21st, 2009 in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. She left her home that night to meet another cousin, not Candace, at a bar about 5 miles away. Rose Marie told her husband that she'd be back before midnight, but she never made it home. So I thought that was really, really strange that Rosemarie, Candace's cousin, went missing in 2009, and 2016 or 2021, her daughter goes missing. I don't know the statistics on that, but it's got to be astronomical to have 2 people missing in your family. So the question is, where is Summer Wells? Summer Moon Utah Wells went missing in June of 2021 when she was 5 years old. She is 6 years old now. At the time she went missing, she was 3 foot tall, 40 pounds, blonde hair cut short, and blue eyes. No one has seen her since. She was wearing a pink top and gray sweatpants and probably barefoot. I don't know. It just makes me so sad. Like, she seems to have been in such a wild situation with her parents struggling, living out in the middle of nowhere. She seemed like a happy kid though. Like, she seemed happy. But this whole situation is just mind-boggling to me. Like, how in a matter of minutes does a 5-year-old go missing unless there's major foul play involved? So if you know anything about Summer Wells, her disappearance, any information on Dawn Wells or Candace Bly, or even Rosemarie Bly, Candace's mom, Grandma Candy, if you know any information about this, you are urged to call 1-800-TBI-FIND, 1-800-TBI-FIND. And you know, our purpose here at the Expired Podcast is to spread awareness so that these cases come to a happy conclusion. And I'm just looking forward to the day that Summer is found and she's found alive and okay. And I feel like it's going to be one of those cases where all of a sudden it's just going to go bananas. We're going to get so much information. We're going to, we're finally going to get, the closure that we need on this case. I don't see that in the near future, though. I think this is going to be a pretty long case. She's being called the JonBenet Ramsey of the South. I mean, beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed 5-year-old goes missing. And I'm just really looking forward to the day she's found. I feel like she's going to be like, those people who finally leave their captor when they're older or have been in captivity for a long time. I feel like she's going to be one of those where she's just runs for her life. And I'm hoping that. So hopefully we find her. Hopefully with us doing coverage on the case, it'll get a little bit more momentum. Maybe more information from the police. So make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe. We are the Expired Podcast. Thanks for listening.